I was recently out of the country for work, and when I checked the security alerts on my cameras, I discovered the pool camera was alerting after about 2 a.m. I watched the video and saw that my wife had the neighbor husband and wife pair drinking and having a nice time. This carried on for hours and they were completely wasted. They all ended up nude in the pool, with my wife and the neighbor's wife fighting, with the male ultimately getting involved. She shoved me away a few times before finally surrendering. We do not have an open relationship, but she's like chicks as well. And we discussed that I'd be willing to have another woman join us in bed, but we have to discuss it ahead. And when it does happen, it must have approval from both sides each time, otherwise it is cheating. Needless to say, there was no discussion beforehand and certainly not with another guy there. I was many hours ahead in time zones and instantly called and woke her up in bed when I saw it. I yelled at her and hung up the phone. I was too furious and hurt to say anything. The next day, once she had calmed down, she attempted to call and I directed her to voicemail since I knew I wouldn't be able to say anything, so I communicated with her by text. At first she said, yeah, we discussed hooking up with the neighbor girl, and this was just her getting drunk and starting things. I believe her when she claims she doesn't recall much of it, and how horrible they were all going down and wobbling. It felt as if she didn't want for it to happen, but was expecting me to react differently and be into it. She stated she brought her to the pool because she wanted it to be on video for me as a show, which I believe she did in her drunken state. She flatly stated that she had no recollection of the guy being involved at all, and that if he was, it was an unintended consequence. Then she said, when you come back, it'll be the three of us, me, you, and the neighbor's wife. At that time, I'm stressing out in the background since I'm scheduled to be out of the country for another 5 weeks. I contacted my chain of command, and they were quite helpful in getting me scheduled to return the next day. It would have been that day if there had been no planes. I had to leave the smaller town I was in and travel a couple of hours to the larger city with the airport to return my rental car and check into the hotel. I phoned her once I had settled in, and we spoke. This was the next day for her, and she was now entirely sober and not hungover, and I think she realized how unhappy I was. By this point, I'd also changed the passwords on the security camera, my email, and other things I knew she had access to, as well as moved the majority of our money out of our joint account and into one she doesn't have access to. I put $1,000 in there in case she or the kids needed anything, but I wasn't sure how she'd respond or if she'd clear me out and go off with the kids. I wanted to have enough money to hire a lawyer without being stuck. I phoned her at this point and we spoke. She was much more apologetic and disturbed, swearing it wasn't planned and she didn't intend for anything to happen. She apologized, saying it had never occurred before and will never happen again. I inquired whether she truly loved me and if she desired a divorce. She sobbed and stated she doesn't want a divorce and that she loves me. I assured her we'd discuss more when I returned in 12 hours. When I returned, she and the kids were at my daughter's softball game. I unpacked, showered, and climbed into bed, hoping to take a sleep because I hadn't slept in almost 36 hours. When I returned, I spent some time assisting in getting my children showered and to bed. Then I walked back down to my room and told her that I didn't want to speak about anything tonight because I was too exhausted, both physically and emotionally, and that we could talk about it in the morning. But that for now, we'll just pretend nothing is wrong. She was fine with that, so she started intimacy with me, and I went along with it. I was honestly wondering if I would be repulsed or put off by it, but it was fine. The next morning, we awoke and repeated the process, then got up, dressed the kids, and drove them to school. Edit, just a few clarifications. My wife is not fully reliant on me financially. We both have successful professions. I make a little more with my VA disability money since I work a second job and she is an ear nurse. So while the divorce would be financially disastrous for both of us, we would be okay. I went back and viewed the tape before things became heated up, rather than just the moments when the affair occurred. I only saw what happened outside and have no clue what was said inside, but my cameras do have audio. This was initiated and pushed for by the neighbor. His wife was by far the most inebriated. Peg, on the other hand, did not appear to be on the same level as my wife and his. I adore my children. If I hadn't had them, there would have been no post or ordeal, and I would have left. It stinks, but I've gone through worse. And I know that while crap stinks right now, it can get better. They are the reason I am giving her another opportunity and undergoing counseling, but I am not foolish enough to stay with her only for the sake of the children. I know they are better off with divorced parents than with two parents who despise each other. Some have hypothesized that she has had some prior trauma in her life, and you are accurate. She was abused for years as a child by her mother's lover. So there's some deep-seated intimacy-related concerns. For obvious reasons, I believe we should have started counseling years ago. She has some additional nonsense that I won't go into as thoroughly as I can. So yes, I believe her in her guilt, and I'm going to give her a chance with counseling. If it works out, fantastic. If not, well, we tried, and I'll move on with my life. I did, too. We're approximately 3 weeks out, and things are going better than I could have imagined. I've had a few counseling sessions at the VA, and her first marriage counseling appointment is set for next week. She has been saying and doing everything we discussed, and I haven't gotten any indication that she is being misleading or dishonest in any way. I'm still ready to go at any time. At any time, but I'm hopeful for us. Next story. I found my wife cheating on me at a park and ride. Okay, so this happened on Father's Day, and it's been a wild trip ever since. When my wife did not return home from work on Father's Day, I grew concerned and began looking for her, because she typically texts me if she will be late. So I got in my car and drove to her workplace, checking to see if she had wrecked or something strange had happened. Her car was unavailable at work. I phoned the hospital, the police, and her family because she was virtually missing to me at this point. I received a text message saying I'm fine around 4 hours after she would normally be home. I called her and she answered the phone and said she was working late, which was obviously a lie. She also let me know she was alive by sending a Snapchat message to a group I'm in with her sister. This showed her position on a map 15 minutes from our house, so I drove there and found her in the back of her coworker's car. When she spotted me, the man just hid in his car. I inquired whether she loved him, and she replied yes. I also asked if she planned to leave me, and she responded yes. She's been living with him since this time and has only returned to our flat on Wednesdays. We spoke, seemed to get along. She claimed she'd respond to my SNNs, and we agreed on some bills. So I'm living in this flat we've been in for maybe 8 years, slowly digging out of all our junk. I'm simply suffering. It's been a really difficult experience for me. I simply wanted to share my tale to receive feedback on what my next step should be. I know divorce is unavoidable, but I'm not sure how to proceed from here. Any help would be appreciated. I know she treated me wrong and I should be angry, but I miss her and hope she is well. Thank you for listening to the story to the end, and if you like it, please support us with a like as well as subscribe to our channel. Just write in the comments what you think about the story.